You don't want to discover that your PC doesn't work after it arrives. At this point, you're actually just struggling with checking out the process of return labels. And the annoying part is that usually builds don't fail on performance or budget constraints. They fail because of the small compatibility mistakes that could be avoided if everything was done prior to purchasing or even building the PC. So in this video, let's go through a clean compatibility check. The things that you need to check and verify before actually purchasing or assembling a PC. And on that, this is the foundation of the system. The CPU socket has to match the motherboard socket, and there's no flexibility here whatsoever. AMD and Intel platforms are completely separate ecosystems, and even with them, you still have multiple generations that don't cross over. For example, modern AMD Ryzen systems use an AM5 socket, while older Ryzen's chips still rely on AM4. On Intel side, newer Core Ultra platforms use LGA 1851, while previous generations like 12th to 14th generation still use LGA 1700. If you mix this incorrectly, nothing else matters. The parts simply won't fit or function together. So the CPU basically defines your entire platform from the start. Once this is locked in, the next thing that you need to take into consideration is the RAMs, but usually people do tend to make mistakes with that, acquiring wrong memory modules. And people often get confused. Memory compatibility is entirely dependent on the motherboard. AM5 systems require DDR5, older AM4 systems use DDR4. On Intel, you might still find both DDR4 and DDR5 depending on the motherboard, but newer platforms are moving fully to DDR5. The key rule here is simply DDR4 and DDR5 are not interchangeable. They look similar, but they are physically and electrically incompatible. You also want to think practically here. In most modern builds, 2 sticks of RAMs is the ideal setup. It gives you a good performance and it leaves upgrade room for the future without forcing you to replace everything else. After that comes the most underestimated part of the whole PC build, and that is the power supply. People tend to treat the power supply as something to save money on. But it is actually the stability backbone of the entire system. The power supply needs to do 2 things properly, right? So the first one is to provide enough wattage for peak load, and the second one is to supply the correct connectors for your components. Modern GPUs or graphic cards in particular can be demanding here. Depending on the GPU that you use, you may need power standards like 12V HPWR or 12V 2TEM6 connectors, or even traditional 8-pin PCIe cables. If your power supply doesn't support the right connections, no adapter or workaround really replaces proper native support. The important mindset here is not what is the minimum I can get away with, but rather what gives me stable headroom. A power supply running comfortably below its limits will always run more efficiently and leave space for future upgrades. Cooling itself also deserves a specific section in this compatibility check, but not only because of the physical alignment and fitment, but also each CPU has its own power design that needs to be, let's put it this way, cooled down. So every CPU has that thermal design target, and your cooler needs to realistically handle that heat output. If the cooling solution is too weak, the system won't necessarily fail, but it will throttle under load, which means you lose performance even though everything is technically working. Air cooling is often enough for mid-range CPUs, but higher-end processors benefit from a stronger air cooler or liquid AIO solutions. The goal isn't just to keep the system running, but to let the CPU sustain its intended performance consistently. Now, storage is also another area where compatibility looks quite simple and straightforward, but there are a couple of traps as well. Modern motherboards mostly use M.2 NVMe SSDs, which come in different PCIe generations like Gen 3, Gen 4, and Gen 5. These are generally backward compatible, but performance will always depend on the slot you use. You also need to pay attention to how many M.2 slots your motherboard actually has and what physical SSD sizes it supports. The most common is 2280, but smaller or less common formats exist as well. SATA storage is still around too, mainly for extra capacity or older drives, but modern builds are heavily centered on NVMe. One thing that I actually see regularly in the, let's say, not compatibility mistakes, but what happens is the BIOS. So older motherboards don't have the updated version entirely, which means that if you buy an older version of the motherboard that is still compatible with the newer generation of the processors, this means that you will have to update the BIOS system completely to get the possibility to run a newer generation processor. The system might not boot if the BIOS version is too old for that CPU. This is especially common when the new CPUs launch while older motherboards are still in circulation. So it's always worth checking CPU support lists and making sure the BIOS is up to date before assembly. It's a small step that can save you from a completely non-booting system. Then we move to physical compatibility, and of course, the most physical compatibility that you can imagine in a build is the case. This is where a lot of otherwise perfect builds fall apart. So just because parts are compatible on paper doesn't mean they physically fit inside the case. Modern GPUs can be extremely large, and CPU coolers also vary significantly in height and sizes. So every case has limits for the GPU length, cooler heights, and radiator support. If you don't check these properly, you can end up in a situation where everything is compatible electrically, but your GPU simply doesn't fit inside the case. So before buying, always cross-check the exact dimensions of your GPU and cooler against the case specifications. This step alone prevents a huge number of build issues. Motherboards come in a different form factors as well. So we have ATX, Micro ATX, and Mini ATX. And your case has to support the size you choose. So smaller builds can look great, but they naturally come with tighter space, reduced expansion options, and more planning required for airflow and cable routing. Headers, front IOs, and standards, the silent compatibility trap. This is also where older hardware sometimes causes issues. So reusing cases or components can lead to mismatching with modern front panel connectors, USB headers, or even RGB standards. Something as simple as lightning or front USB ports not working correctly often comes down to generation differences in connectors. So for instance, let's go with the simplest one, RGB to addressable RGB. RGB comes with a 4-pin header, 12 volts, simple as that. But the addressable RGB header comes with 3 pins, where out of those 4 connectors, 4 pins, one is empty. And you can't connect that to a 12 volts 4-pin. Addressable RGB is 5 volts 3-pin, and don't mix them up, because the only thing that you could do is some serious damage to the LEDs, potentially motherboard as well, because of the different voltages. USB headers, usually if you go with an older motherboard and a newer case, you will get the USB Type-C headers, but in an older motherboard you potentially might not get the USB-C header. So in that case, do check the compatibility if the motherboard has all the connectors for the I/O ports on the front or on the top. It really depends on the case. So check that before you actually go and buy a motherboard or a case, just to have all the ports working properly and in full function. Airflow and system balance. Now everything works better when air is moving right. Airflow ties all of this together. Well-built system isn't just about having enough fans, but about having a proper airflow direction. So typically you want cool air coming in from the front and bottom, and hot air exhausting from the rear and top, because hot air rises. Balanced airflow keeps temperature stable, reduces dust buildups, and helps every component run closer to its intended performance. So future-proofing your build, think beyond that day when you build that PC. Finally, there's the long-term thinking part of PC building. A good system isn't just compatible at the moment of assembly. It should also allow upgrades later without rebuilding everything. So this comes to the point where choosing a slightly better motherboard chipset, if the budget of course accepts, or a more compatible power supply can make a real difference over time and for future upgrades. Before building, it's also worth using configuration tools or compatibility checkers from motherboard manufacturers or trusted PC building sites. They help eliminate guesswork and reduce the chance of missing something small but really, really crucial. So at the end of the day, PC building isn't that hard, but these small checklists do tend to make your life much easier if you do them properly. As you already know from this video, check all the QVL or qualified vendor list for RAM compatibility, CPU compatibility. There's also the size dimensions for the case and what can go inside in terms of GPU length, air cooler length, radiator length. Everything is written on the spec sheets. So if you get all these steps of compatibility right on front, the PC building experience and the whole flow in assembling your first PC will be much easier and much smoother. So guys, thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to check the links in the description, and that will be all for today. Bye bye.